This is a Corner Boxing Podcast with Lee. So, put your gloves up.
A lot to bands, you gotta wash your hands. I'm cooking up high demand, customers coming in fast. You don't wanna throw the hands, I got the gloves, you don't wanna dance.
Hey guys, welcome to the 6th episode of the Corner Boxing Podcast with Lee. I shocked the world. Mike Tyson and James Buster Douglas, the biggest upset in boxing history. Now, of course, I hope you and all of your family members are doing well and continue to do so. This is part 3 of a 3-part series, so this is the conclusion. So please don't forget, if you like this podcast, please press the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Now, part 3.
And we have a new era in boxing.
And 1988 really wasn't a very good year for Mike Tyson, starting with the loss of his good friend Jimmy Jacobs due to leukemia. And Jimmy Jacobs was the one guy that most people thought could keep Mike Tyson in control after Cus D'Amato passed away in 1985. Not to mention, he was also the one guy who could keep Mike Tyson away from Don King, which is something that Cus D'Amato really did want. So now Mike Tyson had Robin and Ruth Gibbons pulling on one end and Don King pulling on the other. And if you know anything about Don King, you know that he is a snake. He has messed over everybody in boxing, from Muhammad Ali to Larry Holmes. And of course, Mike Tyson would eventually figure that out, but by that time, he had been bitten several million times.
It was just a wretched, slimy, reptilian motherfucker. Right, this is supposed to be my brother, my black brother. Right, he's just a bad man. He's a real bad man. He abused you, and he would kill his mother for $1. He's ruthless. He's deplorable. He doesn't know how to love anybody. That's just the way he is.
Now, unfortunately for Mike, after the Spinks fight, Don King was able to convince Mike to fire Kevin Rooney along with the entire team that Cus D'Amato had placed around him, all with the exception of a guy by the name of Jay Bright. Now, when Don King got rid of Kevin Rooney, that ended growth for Mike as a fighter, because he brought in a guy by the name of Aaron Snowell, who Mike had zero respect for, and as a result, Mike's training habits and regiments declined considerably. Now, the only one around from the original crew was a guy by the name of Jay Bright. Jay first came around when he was about 13 years old, and he weighed over 300 pounds. He got with Cus D'Amato, and they brought the weight down to 175 pounds within 1 year. He became a fixture in the Cus D'Amato household, like Mike Tyson, and after his parents passed away, he too was adopted into Cus D'Amato's home, and that's how he found his way into boxing. Now, Jake really didn't have a lot of respect in the boxing community as a corner man, even though he did come up under Cus D'Amato. Now, it was Don King who hired Aaron Snowell as Mike's corner man. And if you were to refer back to the article in DogHouseBoxing.com, you would find that Steve was saying that Don King did this so that he could have total control over Mike. Now, Aaron's inexperience showed immediately, and I thought it almost cost Mike the Frank Bruno fight. And this is also a fight to let me know that I had a different understanding of boxing from a lot of other people, because a lot of people thought Mike looked good in this fight, but I thought Mike looked terrible. To be honest, I didn't know why, because we didn't have the internet back then. Our social media wasn't what it is today, so we didn't know what a fighter's training habits was or how he was living. But I knew Mike had a problem and he was looking really bad because he had no upper body movement, and he was really looking bad early in the fight. Now, I knew Mike had some kind of problem because he was walking straight in with no head movement early, and he was getting tagged really hard with some nice stuff. Yeah, so I didn't really understand what was going on. I knew he didn't have Kevin Rooney, and I didn't know much about Aaron at the time. Actually, I didn't know anything about him. And so Mike really just won this fight on pure gutting it out with pure brute strength. Now, Aaron Snowell got away again in the Carter Truth Williams fight because his lack of ring experience didn't show as a corner man, because, well, Mike caught him early, and Mike catch your ass early, you going out. So his lack of experience really didn't show because the fight was over with quick. So how did Mike Tyson wind up losing to a 42-1 underdog, James Buster Douglas, on the night of February 11, 1990 in Tokyo, Japan? James Buster Douglas, born April 7, 1960, Columbus, Ohio. Now, James' father was a former professional fighter himself, and he went by the name of William Dynamite Douglas. And James' mother name was Lula Pearl Douglas, and James was very close to his mother. Now, after his father retired as a professional fighter, he ran a recreational center downtown in Columbus, Ohio. Now, I didn't know this until I started doing research for this podcast, but Buster was actually a pretty well-rounded athlete. He was a football and a basketball star in high school, and he actually led his high school basketball team, Linden, to the state championship, and they actually won. And it was led there by James Buster Douglas. He also played basketball for Sinclair Community College in Dayton before he returned back to focus on his boxing career. Now, Buster debuted on May 31st, 1981, where he won a 4-rounder over Dan O'Malley. Now, Buster, with his father in his corner, was going to win his first 5 fights, but then he lost to David Bay. But he came back and he beat Gray Page. But after that, he lost to Tony Tucker. Now, Buster did start fast in the Tony Tucker fight, but he eventually ran out of gas.
But it's no different, I think.
That was a right hand by Tucker, not a bad shot. And Douglas appears to be hurt.
He's really hurt.
They're tired in addition to being hurt. Right hand again by Tucker. Douglas.
There was a left hook there.
And a right behind it and another right. Douglas is in deep trouble on the ropes.
When he lost his fight to Tony Tucker, his father was so upset with him, he thought that his son quit on him, and they fell out and they separated and they no longer worked together. Now, somehow, Buster's mother, Lula Pearl Douglas, knew that her son was going to win this fight, and she was telling all her co-workers that her son was going to beat Mike Tyson, and he was going to become the new heavyweight champion of the world. But unfortunately, just 23 days before the fight, his mother passed away. Now, to string together a few wins, including over Oliver McCall and Trevor Berbick, he got a shot at the title on February 11th. 1990.
Just another day of work for Mike Tyson. He looks almost bored as they call to the center of the ring by the referee. The stage is set.
On February 11th, 1990, Mike Tyson no longer had his mentor and father figure, Cus Dear Mother. And not only did he no longer have his longtime corner man and trainer, Kevin Rooney, he was actually being sued by Kevin. But now, Mike had parted with his trainer, Bill Clayton, and was being sued by Bill Clayton as well. He was being sued by the woman that he loved and was betrayed by Robin Givens. Can't forget the absence of his good friend, Steve Locke. And of course, he lost his good friend, Jim Jacobs, as well. And even worse, he was going in with an incompetent cornerman. And let us not forget how Bobby Brown has continuously said how him and Mike Tyson party all night long with 12 Asian girls the night before the fight. By the time Mike Tyson stepped in that ring with James Buster Douglas, his entire life had collapsed around him. His social life, his personal life, his private life, his business life, it had all come crashing down on top of his shoulders. Now looking back, you could think that Mike Tyson had lost that fight before he even stepped into the arena that night. And looking at James Buster Douglas, he was in shape, he was focused, he was determined, and he was ready.
Douglas insists that he's going to shock the world in this fight. If he should upset Mike Tyson, it would make the shocks in Eastern Europe seem like local ward politics.
He would shock most of the world if he could make it into the middle round.
Well, he has convinced Mike Tyson this very first round.
Buster Douglas is a conventional fighter who likes to work behind a stiff left jab.
Now look right here, less than 1 minute into the first round, and Mike is already walking straight in. None of the old Mike Tyson bobbing, weaving, the stuff we would see when he had Kevin Rooney in his corner, walking straight in, looking tired.
And relaxed against Tyson until Tyson hit him with a body punch about 45 seconds into the bout. Mike has not yet gone.
Now look, when Tyson comes in, he either hits him beautifully with a jab or he ties him up really nice, and he constantly hit Tyson every time he releases on the break.
And he gets a warning from Octavio Meron.
Jab. So left jab is a key weapon for Buster Douglas.
He fought a sculpted Adonis named Mike Williams on the undercard of Tyson Spinks. And
now look right here how good he is working behind his jab, and look how many times he hit Tyson.
See, Mike has to be careful also because Mike's standing in front of him too.
And you see how he caught Mike with this big right at the end right here? But more importantly, what I like is look how he looked at Mike to let him know, no, I am not intimidated.
That was a good round for Douglas, and I gave it to him.
Now look, we're talking corner experience here, right? This is just the first round. Look how this guy's caressing and holding Mike, all gentle and tender stuff. And look at the contrasting difference when you go to Buster's corner.
Use the fucking jab, man. Look how to use the jab. Short right hand. Short your right hand up. Okay, James? And then look for 2 or 3 shots. Go down in there, right? Go down in there. Bring it back. 2 or 3 punches, baby. Right.
So I was totally confused as to why Aaron was talking to Mike like he was talking to a 7-year-old child. I never seen that before. I don't know how you're gonna motivate a fighter like that. I never seen it before. I was totally confused by it. Now look right here, this is just going into the second round, how Mike come in with absolutely no head movement. And you know what you call this? You call this a shoe shine.
Films, because he takes a move, he steps to his right, give a little angle.
Douglas giving as good as he gets inside right there. He outlanded Tyson.
Did you see how many times he hit Tyson right there? And again, look how he works behind that jab, throwing that overhand right. Now he hit Tyson with this overhand right all night long, and I can't recall one time his corner telling him about this.
Another right hand lead lands for Douglas.
Douglas not afraid, that is apparent.
Douglas was putting in work early on Mike. Now look how many times he's hitting Mike with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 punch combinations. And I noticed that I only seen Mike throwing 1, 2 punch combinations at best. Now look, this is just the third round. Look how Mike comes staggering in already. He's so tired and fatigued very early in this fight.
Smart, work your way in. Another good right, but Tyson comes right through it.
Now yes, Tyson was walking through the punches, but there's a big man hitting him with some hard shit. I knew Tyson couldn't continue to walk through these punches all night long.
You're not closing the gap, Mike. You got to get inside by jabbing and moving your head. When you get in the inside, you got to punch. All right? Come on, Mike. Punch, Mike. Jab, 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 overhand, right, come back into the left. Okay? Relax. You're too flat-footed in there. Right. Okay? Get that what you know. Do it. Let it go.
Okay, now what Aaron is telling Mike here is pretty much true. But the problem is, you can't wait till the night of the fight to be a corner man and try to tell the man what to do. You have to be there throughout the whole entire training process to make sure that he is doing everything that he needs to do so that on the fight night, he is able to do these things. And poor Jay Bright, did you see what he had to offer? Mike, do what you know. Let it go.
Trust in what you know. Do it. Let it go.
And again, maybe I'm wrong, but I just have a problem with this baby talk shit. I've never seen it before. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what it's supposed to achieve. I don't get it. So throughout the middle rounds, it was pretty much the same. You had a big, strong, in shape, determined man against a weakened, out of shape, out of condition champion.
Not quite as quick and active in this round as he has been in previous rounds, but there's very little drop-off. And the champion looks frustrated. Missed with the leaping left.
I give Mike credit. He went out on this shield. He never did quit. But even when Mike would try to get off a couple punches, Buster always seemed to come back with more.
The mind.
Well, he's asking some questions of Tyson that Tyson hasn't been asked before. In the second half of a fight, he's got to come back and win it. Look at the punches.
These right-hand leads are not diminishing in effectiveness, guys. He is still landing just about all of them.
Now, Mike got swelling up like a balloon. And what did they put on it? A fucking balloon, because his cut man didn't bring an in well or ice pack. They had to take a rubber glove and fill it up with ice water and use that for ice pack. Douglas continued to throw them beautiful right hands all night long. And Mike's eye was really starting to swell up bad. And I think Douglas could see the writing on the wall.
Tyson lands a right hand and backs.
I've never seen this happen before with Mike Tyson. He's always been the initiator. Here he's against the ropes. I've never seen.
And there's a right hand.
And Tyson dropped him with a beautiful uppercut. And to be honest, I actually thought the fight was over. I thought he came back.
Can he beat the count?
He got a little overconfident. Got a little loosey-goosey.
But all of a sudden, Buster Douglas got
Let's see
up.
what Mike can do to finish. And the bell ends to
He was
save Buster
focused.
Douglas at the end of round 8.
And Tyson is trying to find out immediately.
Buster came
if
back
his head is
swinging.
clear.
He swung on everything, including the referee.
Right to the body, he tries the uppercut again and misses.
Tyson pushed in hard again, but Buster came back strong.
Solid right cross. Douglas wobbled again. A desperate one-eyed fighter. Rolling willingly just to try to get in the shot that will finish things in.
Oh, the uppercut.
What an uppercut by Douglas, and down goes Tyson.
And just like that, in the blink of an eye, history was made. A 42-1 underdog. James Buster Douglas knocked out Iron Mike Tyson.
It's over. It's over.
Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
Unbelievable.
This makes Cinderella look like a sad story. What Buster Douglas has done here tonight.
Let's go ahead and call it the biggest upset in the history of heavyweight championship fights. Say it now, gentlemen. James Buster Douglas, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
I would be willing to say it's the greatest upset in boxing history.
There seems to be a little pandemonium here.
Nothing compares to this. I know this baby is so cool, and you don't even know what you do. This baby is so cool. You don't have to worry. Just stay close to me. You'll never be lonely. This is where I wanna be.
Get off my hand. I ain't doing you scumbag. You.
Right hand lands. Tyson knows he's got him in big trouble. If he doesn't answer it, Richard Steele has moved in and has stopped the fight.
I know this baby is so cool, and you don't even know what you do. This baby is so cool. You don't have to worry. Just stay close to me.
There's the punch. Terrific uppercut.
You'll never be lonely.
There it is.
This is
There is
where
no
I
way.
wanna be. And I feel so alive, and I breathe.
Now, immediately after the fight, Don King and Mike Tyson filed a protest claiming that it was unfair and that James Buster Douglas had a long count when he was knocked down by Mike Tyson. Within 3 days, all 3 governing bodies awarded the championships to James Buster Douglas.